Followers don't convert, devotees do. If you want a brand that stays with someone, not just for a season, but until the end of time, you need to build a world, not just a feed, and we're not manipulating people. We're becoming highly magnetic. This is about building something devotional, a place where people don't just land, but they root and they get to call this space their home. They memorize your voice like scripture. They quote you in group chats, and they say things like, "She always says this." Because now you've become a part of their language, their rhythm, and their identity. And if you want that kind of resonance, that kind of slow burn, healthy obsession, let's talk about how to build a brand that becomes a home. Cult brands work because people don't want more content, they want more connection. They want to be named, claimed, and woven into something greater than themselves. And a lot of people crave identity. Not in the niche sense, but in a soul print sense. Like, who am I when I belong to your world? What version of me awakens under your frequency? They crave ritual, the weekly check-ins, the sacred chaos of a launch, the way your voice on a Tuesday morning makes them remember who the fuck they are. They crave resonance and energy that mirrors their higher selves. The kind that makes them go, wait, how did she know that's exactly what I needed to hear? A cult-like brand isn't about controlling people. It's about creating a field so strong, so clear, and so true that the right people feel safe enough to stay. People crave belonging, and they want to know who they become when they enter your world. This was the mentality that led me to creating Goddess State as an identity. I started studying some of my favorite women in business, people like Nicki Minaj, who has the Barbs as her community, Beyonce with her Beehive, then some of my personal mentors like Bridget James Ling, who created the company called Freedom Queen, or your manifesting bestie, Flora Sivos, who created a space for her besties. The whole point here is that these women are creating such a strong movement that when you enter their world, you feel like you belong to something so much greater. And this is why people will ride with you for life, because they don't want to give up the Freedom Queen or bestie identity. And so I chose Goddess State because one of my favorite quotes is, "The divine in me recognizes the divine in you." And so every time I call my community goddess, not only does it affirm that I see their higher selves daily, but it also directly calls in the woman who identifies with that messaging. And it will ward off the people who find the messaging too polarizing, most likely because they've internalized this patriarchal truth that God is a male. But this polarizing messaging is great because magnets not only attract, they repel. So let's get into the pillars of a cult-like brand. 1, your brand needs an energetic identity. It needs to feel like something. Look to your midheaven sign for how to embody the right energy. Because as a Taurus midheaven myself, I'm very slow to speak. Very grounded. I'm clear about my values. I show up consistently. I make sure that my videos are very aesthetic. This is cosmic alignment. This is me embodying Tauresian energy. So what senses does your brand evoke? Not what it teaches, not what it sells, but what does it awaken in others? I want people to feel grounded, powerful, and anchored in who they are. Are you a velvet flame? Are you sharp like silver? Are you a spell or a sermon or a revolution in lipstick? Label the characteristics of your brand. And another practice I like to do is envision what a retreat would look like if you had speakers and a stage and everyone was dressed up. Because when Goddess State blows up, I've already imagined women showing up in literal goddess outfits. That's how potent this luxurious, heavenly energy feels in my body. And remember, my midheaven sign is ruled by Venus, specifically a Capricorn Venus. So there's a lot of Venusian beauty energy at play here. So when you define your frequency, your energy becomes the algorithm. And when your tribe finds you, they know this is the home I've been looking for. And one of the ways I help my community calibrate their energy for massive success is by using my free Quantum Leap sleep hypnosis every night before bed. I personally use this every single night and I've seen massive results. So grab that in the description. The next thing you want to do is use devotional language. So like we said, give your people a name. My community are goddesses. Make it make sense for your mission too. Because like I've said in other episodes, my mission is to raise the matriarch by empowering women through branding. So naturally, I'm speaking to women who are highly empowered. You can call your people angels, light workers, astro girlies, Whatever your mission is, make them want to identify with that title. Make it empowering, obviously. And have go-to sentences. I'm still creating mine, but some ideas are: visibility is a ceremony. Being seen is a ritual. Your life is an altar. Your body is a temple. That's not a fantasy, it's a frequency. Soft, sovereign, seen. You want your statements to be so powerful that they run through people's minds during the day. Because your language becomes your lore. Your sayings become spells, and suddenly you're unforgettable. People start thinking in alignment with how you see the world, because they want to be a part of yours. You want to create so much emotional safety that people start to feel their edge. And this is the paradox too. The more safe your world feels, the more permission people feel to be wild. Cult-like brands hold both. They hold the softness of sanctuary and then the fire of transformation. So your people want to feel protected, but also provoked, held, and then called higher, seen and stretched. And when you build that kind of space, they don't just follow along, they devote themselves to your process. Now, this is an ethical video, but we have to talk about some of the psychologically malicious tactics used to create cults and redeem them for good, of course. So let's name the truth without naming names. The biggest movements in history, whether good or devastating, didn't grow by chance. They grew through deep psychological and emotional mastery, through rhythm, symbolism, identity, and repetition. And while we're not here to manipulate, we are here to understand the blueprint so we can reclaim it. We're not dominating people, we're calling them into devotion. So here are some tactics they used and how we turn them into light. So one of the tactics is creating a clear enemy. In malicious leadership, it's scapegoating, fear, separation. But for your brand, it's naming the energetic saboteur. So take my brand, for instance, helping visionary women be seen. The clear enemy is not only the hidden self, which we later figure out is actually just our protector, but at first glance is seen as the enemy, but also another enemy is the patriarchy, because it's single-handedly oppressing women in more ways that I can mention in this video. But your brand's enemy can be palatability, burnout, overgiving, vibrational self-abandonment. Call it out. Say it gently. Build a world where your people know that version of me has expired. Another tactic is to speak in absolutes with love. Cults and propaganda machines use certainty to create control, but you'll use it to create clarity. Saying things like, you weren't made to shrink. You don't need a niche, you need a nerve. People are sold when you are convicted. And you're not being arrogant, you're just standing by a truth you wholeheartedly believe in. This is what it means to be anchored in something. And people are tired of wobbly messaging that isn't backed by values. They want to know, they want to feel, they want to believe, and they also want to know that you're committed to this vision long term. So be sure to commit to an identity you can see yourself embodying for a while. Like, I'm taking Goddess State to the fucking moon. Another tactic is to design mythic identities. In history, cults gave people uniforms, roles, obedience, but you instead will give them sovereign archetypes, whether this is truth tellers, sacred rebels, mirror maidens, womb whisperers, women who lead with devotion, not domination. Whatever it is, your brand becomes the mirror they've been waiting to see themselves in, not to be controlled, but to be called home. You also want to think about sentences that you can brand on merch. Like for Goddess Day, I could put, I'm in my goddess era on a t-shirt, or goddess frequency only, etc. Your world now becomes filled with infinite possibilities. Another thing is repetition equals resonance. So in a malicious context, it's brainwashing, but here it's remembering. You repeat your rhythms, your phrases, your prayers until your people start finishing your sentences. And you're not making people lose themselves to some random programming, they're finding themselves in your words. So you also want to create symbolic moments, whether this means that your launch is a ceremony or your offer is an altar. Every touch point means something. Create shared rituals like DM codes, affirmation sequences, energy check-ins. These are the things that they carry with them even off screen. They'll say things to their friends or their partner like, you should have seen Aura's post today in her IG broadcast channel. Go join that, by the way. Or they'll say, look at this new product. She created exactly what I'm looking for. She really gets me. And then they'll invest. Because again, people buy energetic transmissions. People buy emotions. So when you offer an emotional transformation, you change someone's life entirely. So now we get into creating a mythos. If your brand is a temple, this is the scripture, the origin story, the prophecy, the parts they'll still remember long after the algorithm forgets. This is how you go from influential to immortal. What is your origin story? Every myth starts in the dark, and yours should too. Don't just share the wins, share the why, the heartbreak, the pivot, the thing that you survived and now help others alchemize. I didn't just create Goddess State as a business, I created it as a breath. When I felt invisible, when I needed a voice that would hold me through the void, when I felt like I gave up on my dream as an artist and I needed to feel safe again, being seen and embodying my voice. That's what makes your brand human. That's what makes your work holy. And name your eras. Your people aren't just watching you, they're walking with you. So name the phases, invite them in. Say, oh, that was my crash out era. That was my motherhood era. That was my goth punk identity crisis era. Let each era carry its own visuals, language, mood. Let your followers say, oh, I joined her during the sacred visibility era. Let them track their own growth by the timeline of your becoming. That's mythology in motion. So another powerful tactic is to give your world breadcrumb prophecies. Mythic brands don't just teach, they foretell. They drop little visions. You're gonna need this later lines, little Easter eggs. The glimpses of the next reality before it arrives. Saying things like, this isn't just content, it's a call to movement. We're building the future feminine internet. A year from now, you won't recognize your voice, and that's the point. Let them feel like they're inside something fated. Let them look back and say, oh my God, she told us all along, and she was right. She is a prophet. Myth builds memory. Memory builds meaning, and meaning builds devotion. And that's how you go from a brand they like to a brand they live by. The last thing I'm going to ask you is to reflect on these prompts. If your brand was a temple, what's the initiation ritual? Is it a phrase they finally say that accepts them into your world? Or an identity they claim fully? A wild yes in the comments section? What makes someone not just opt in, but enter sacred territory? Like they're finally here. They're finally goddess. If your brand was a frequency field, what color would it be? Don't just think aesthetic, think aura. What shade are you vibrating in? What hue do they feel when they land in your world? What villain are your people done with? Not a person, but an energy, a narrative, a part of themselves they're ready to release because your work made it unbearable to stay the same. What's the anthem of your world? Not your mission statement, but the feeling that emanates through your words. The sentence that gets stuck in their bones. The song they start humming in your presence before they realize it's their own. These questions, these create cult-like chemistry because they pull your people into co-creation, into memory, and into meaning. And when someone means something inside of your world, they never leave. Ironically, one of my latest clients just said after working with me at the end of our call, it feels like I just received an exorcism. And that's a powerful testimony to the amount of purging of our old selves we do in my spotlight sessions. So if this felt in resonance for you, be sure to book a session with me so that we can craft your cult-like brand, your voice, your messaging, your identity for your specific world, so that you can create a community that is just as obsessed with you as you are with them. I'll see you in the next episode.